Steel bottle, steel bottle, Boston Celtics, steel bottle, steel bottle. Oh yeah! Steel bottle, Boston Celtics, steel bottle, Banner 19.
Beat Rob, Jim, Becca, Jake King.
Steel bottle.
The Caesar on the court to get another ring.
Steel bottle.
Everybody in the chat now sing.
Steel bottle. Boston Celtics, steel bottle. Oh yeah! Shut your ass up,
Daddy's always halfway there.
What up? It's me, your boy Jay King from The Athletic, here with Brian Robb from MassLive.com. We are coming to you, recording this 1:06 p.m. on, what day is today? Thursday afternoon, the day after the Celtics had a tough opening night loss to the Philadelphia 76ers. They gave up 74 combined points to Tyrese Maxey and VJ Edgecombe. They gave up 42 points in the fourth quarter. They missed two opportunities on their final possession that would have won the game, and they're 0-1 now. So B-Rob and I are here to break it all down. Obviously, Packard and Sean Gauthier broke it down after the game, but we've got our own thoughts and got our own first impressions. Let's start with the good. Nimi was pretty good. I thought the Celtics got pretty good shots for most of the game. And in the fourth quarter, when they played small a lot, like they played really small. I was surprised at how often they used their small lineup in the fourth quarter. I looked up the numbers of the lineups with Derek White, Peyton Pritchard, Anthony Simons, and Jaylen Brown. And they had 144 offensive rating and 133 defensive rating.
Get ready.
Which might be a sign of things to come, because I'm not sure that group can guard anybody, but I'm also not sure anybody can guard that group. And Joel Embiid was out for most of those minutes, and Philly went super small too, and it was just kind of a crazy game. But Nimi stood out, and Nimi during those moments when he was with that group benefited with all sorts of open looks down low. When you have that much space around you, I think Nimi is going to be a big threat for the Celtics. Though one thing that he needs to really control is the foul trouble. I thought especially the moving screen late in the fourth quarter, which was an obvious moving screen. He just like stuck his butt out and like went out of his way to do it. That's a big turnover that you can't have in that moment. And so he needs to get better at that and kind of figure all that stuff out.
Yeah, they really had a couple big ones down the stretch of him there. Like the Hauser one too was a killer. But yeah, like when the Sixers were playing that small in the fourth quarter, where Embiid was not on the court for the final 9 minutes of that game, and their center was a two-way guy in Barlow, like that's what Nimi has to be able to do. And he pretty much did his job on the front. When they got the ball to him in traffic, honestly, they probably could have missed him a few times even more when he had, a guard on him in the post or sealed off at the rim. And that could have ultimately helped them get over the hump in that game when they blew the late lead. But by and large, that was a very promising start for Nimi. And the foul trouble, I think that's going to be a concern all year long, if you will, depending on how they're going to defend guys. But certainly, he wasn't the only one who had his hands full with the Sixers backcourt and just trying to contain him at all, since those are two guys that pretty much did what they wanted to do most of the night.
Yeah, let's get to them, and especially Edgecombe, because you expect Maxey to do great things. He's been in the league a long time. Not a long time, but he's been in the league for years. He's been a super productive scorer. He's tough to guard. Edgecombe was in his debut and had the third highest debut for a rookie ever, behind Wilt Chamberlain and Frank Selfie. He was the first guy this century to score 34 points or more in his rookie debut. So just an unbelievable start for VJ Edgecombe. And I thought the Celtics plan, and Peyton Pritchard shared this afterward, the Celtics plan was to let him shoot, basically. Not let him shoot, but close out short and live with the results. And that got them in trouble. He hit, I believe it was 3 3-pointers in the first quarter. He finished 5 for 13 from deep, which isn't an incredible percentage, but not exactly what you expect out of a guy who in college wasn't known as a great shooter. That was one of the knocks against him, was he might not be able to shoot the ball. He shot 38.5%. Oh no, that's his NBA stats, his college stats. He shot 34% at Baylor on fewer than 5 attempts per game. So he wasn't getting up a ton. He wasn't making a lot. And it made total sense to let him shoot in his first game. And they kind of adjusted. I felt like they didn't give him as many open looks later in the game, but that start really got the 76ers on the right way. And I think it got him confident. And the play that stood out to me the most was in the fourth quarter, and he drove on Derek White, and White was there contested, and he was just patient, bodied up, shot a little fadeaway over the top of Derek White. I was like, that's a grown man shot. He was incredibly athletic. They let him and Maxey do a lot in transition. They've got to shore that up. But yeah, Sixers, Embiid looked terrible.
That's the crazy part about that game. It's Embiid was a huge net negative for them.
Paul George was out. Embiid was not able to move. Looked totally cooked. Hopefully he's not totally cooked. But man, when he's that bad and they're playing Barlow and Oubre and
Jabari Walker,
guys a lot of people have probably never even heard of, that's a bad loss for the Celtics. I actually thought they got much better looks than they shot 25.6% from three. The Celtics did. It felt like to me, a lot of those were great looks. Derek White was just shanking some pretty good looks. He had some bad misses. Peyton Pritchard, Anthony Simons, both those guys missed a lot of shots. Chris Forsberg shared a stat today that Jaylen Brown had 15 potential assists, only had 4 assists. So obviously they were missing a bunch of shots off Jaylen passes. But yeah, I felt like the offensive process was better than the stats dictated. Did you feel that way, or did you think they shot too many threes, or they didn't get great shots? What was your thoughts on the offense?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was clunky, if you will, in the first half in parts, and then things kind of got going in the third quarter there, and you're kind of all right, you're off to the races. And then as far as the late game stuff goes, it's a situation where you just have to, when that team is playing that lineup against you, you can't lose because of your offense late in the game. I felt like you're up 9 with 4 minutes to go. They got some good looks there that could have gone down, but I think they also left some points on the floor, whether it was offensive rebounds or just settling in a couple spots. And so by and large, it was, I think, a mixed bag. But I think Jalen's settled once or twice or put Derek in tough spots. Derek had missed a wide open 3 here or there. Tillman obviously missed a point blank shot on the putback from Pritchard. So stuff like that, you're but you just kind of really just needed one of those to go down, and the fact that they couldn't, muster anything there until the Sixers went on the 12-2 run was a little bit troubling against a lineup like this, because defensively, this is probably as easy as you're going to face for this Celtics team in a spot like that all season.
Yeah. And so I thought Joe coached an interesting game, because going through preseason, I thought they're going to rely a lot on their energy, their athleticism, and he preached all of that, right? Pace, forcing turnovers, all that. At the end of the day, the fourth quarter, he played a lineup that couldn't do that.
Yeah.
That could not, the Celtics only forced 1 turnover in the fourth quarter. they were playing 3 guys 6'3" and below. They were playing Jaylen Brown at power forward. How are you going to get stops? How are you going to play the style that you want if you're that small? And maybe they just have to figure that out. And like I said, that with those 4 guys on the court, they had 144 offensive rating. They outscored the Sixers during those 8 minutes, but it just felt like he preached one thing and started off the game with like play 10 guys in the first 10 minutes. They were like relying on all the pillars that he taught. And then in the fourth quarter, it was like sort of back to more of a like traditional style. And I say traditional, Jaylen Brown was at 4, but like you're not able to have the offensive rebounding you want when you have those guys out there on the court. You're not going to be able to get all the deflections you want when you have that lineup. And he stopped subbing as much. He stopped relying on the energy that he kind of preached they would rely on. And maybe that's the NBA. Like, you're going to rely on your key guys in the fourth quarter. But I was surprised that Josh Minott only played 14 minutes. I was surprised that Chris Boucher only played 16. And that was after Luka Garza got placed in concussion protocol. So who knows? He might have even played less if Luka Garza was available. And I just felt like they didn't play Ugo. They sent him to the scorer's table at one point and then brought him back. But just felt like during preseason, their athleticism on the wing could be something that really helps them. And in the first game, they sort of minimized that of their own doing because they didn't play Ugo. They didn't play either Shireman or Walsh. Not that either of those guys any of those guys I expect them to be great, but they're all 6'7" and pretty athletic and can make plays defensively. And you don't play Minott a lot. You don't play Boucher a lot. And so they kind of went away from sort of the blueprint that I thought they would have. And I thought that was interesting. I don't know if that will stick. Maybe that was just a matchup thing. Maybe it was just an opening night thing. Maybe it's Joe trying to see what he has in the small lineup and try to coax something out of that. But I did feel like they could do more to lean into the style that they want to play. And I don't think it was just on the players.
No, I think it's a good point by you. Like, even the first half, I feel like a couple times where Joe was pulling guys because they missed the offensive, like they didn't box out. It seemed like a couple early subs there, and then, like I said, the subbing just dissipated. So I don't know, Jay. It's like this three. I guess you want to see what you have with this 3-guard lineup, but if you're gonna play that, you have to outscore teams in the fourth quarter, and that obviously is not going to get it done. And I don't know if like that combination of White, Pritchard, Simons like has enough upside for you offensively to counteract what the pitfalls of what they're not bringing to the table from a defensive standpoint, from not being able to crash the glass standpoint. Like, it is going to be. I mean, it's going to be under the microscope every night, I think, of this team, because the margin for error is just that thin. And Joe, I don't envy him. He does not have easy lineup decisions. But ultimately, I'm not sure this is one that's going to be like a winning 2-way lineup for this team, just based on, I know it's just one game, but I think there's too many pitfalls with that group in late game situations, especially when you're going against a couple really good guards, and Simons is what he is as a defender.
Yeah, I thought Simons actually competed at a much higher level than we saw in the preseason. He had a couple steals. He was like, I thought he really competed. I thought the Celtics should be like pretty optimistic about the way he approached defense in game one. Obviously, he's never been a great defender, but I just thought it was like the intensity was turned up by him for that game.
It was respectable for what he is, but it's also like he only took one shot in that fourth quarter. I feel like he was almost under, like, if you're going to have him on the floor, like, I feel like he was kind of a bystander offensively.
Yeah, but you say that, and then like Nemi's just catching lobs. And,
yeah, that's true.
And he had the great pass to Nemi when Nemi finished the reverse in the fourth quarter that led him straight to the basket. I thought like offensively that small group really worked, but it was just really interesting to me after the preseason, and we saw how helpful Minot and Boucher were. They played 7 combined minutes in the second half.
Yeah.
7.
39 seconds in the fourth quarter combined.
Yeah. So they totally went away from the energy group that they said they were going to rely on. And obviously you need your starters to do that too, and you need Simons to buy into that as well. But it just felt like they just sort of abandoned the guys who can help them achieve the style they want. And I think they're going to have to do a better job of mixing and matching stuff. Get Minot in there sometimes with Jalen and White and Pritchard. Get Boucher in there more often, because otherwise you're just going to be really small and you're going to let other teams get comfortable like Edgecombe and Maxey got. And that's you could see like the Celtics have never had to play small the last few years because they have Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, and they had tons of good bigs, and they were always huge, almost always huge. Like ever since they traded Brogdon and Smart, basically, like they've been big at every single position, and especially in crunch time normally. And last night in crunch time, they were just really small, like really small. And you've got to figure out ways to overcome that. They didn't really do that. The last play, not the actual last play where Pritchard missed the jumper. That was just you hope for the best. The 1.3 seconds on the inbounds play, you have hardly any time. You're just hoping to get open and put a shot at the rim and just pray it goes in. But the play before that, when they had 7.8 seconds, they tried to run something for Jalen. Sixers, Maxey on the ball did a good job of like just shutting that off, jumping in front of Jalen and taking that away. And so they went to Pritchard. He tried to make something happen. He said that he should have passed to either Simons or Hauser on the perimeter. I looked at it. They were pretty open, but it wasn't like an easy pass to either of those guys. I didn't hate actually him trying to get something going to the basket and trying to finish there. Probably would have been the right move to throw it out to Simons, like Pritchard said. But I didn't hate that. The bigger takeaway for me is like just how much they're going to have to figure out late in games, because before, like, Peyton Pritchard wasn't even on the court. Like a lot of times in crunch time in the past few years, he hasn't been on the court. And they had Drew Holiday out there. They had Jaylen Brown, Derek White, Jason Tatum, Kristaps Porzingis, or Al Horford. Peyton Pritchard was sitting on the bench watching crunch time. And now you've got to figure out like what to do in all those situations that you haven't really been heavily involved in lately. And that's for him. That's for Simons with this group, although obviously in Portland, he was part of that. And, you know, if Hauser's out there, if Nemi's out there, there's just a lot of new pieces that just kind of have to figure out situational basketball together. I know they drill that all the time in practice, but it's totally different going through it in a game. And it took years for the Celtics core to kind of get some of that stuff. Like they had a lot of bad late game moments before finally sort of getting it together. So hopefully that process doesn't start all over at the beginning again. But I thought that,
I mean, they still had those tough moments last year too. Like that they were kind of fully went. Like they obviously figured it out during the title year, but then the next series, like those are some rough ones too. So yeah, that's going to be very much work in progress. And yeah, like those, I think by and large, it was nice to see them trying to get to the basket in a few of those situations. And honestly, like I think by and large, good, better, especially when there's not like when you're facing the lineups that the Sixers had out there. Like there was no real rim threat there. Those are places those guys should be able to get to. And those would looks they're going to take most nights. So the fact that they didn't knock him down makes it worse, makes it, make it look like a bit of a collapse. But I think the process was good in those situations beyond the fact that, you couldn't get Jalen the ball. You couldn't get your number one option the ball in those spots. That's probably going to happen a lot this year. And so you're going to have to figure out the rest.
Yep. One interesting moment was when Luka Garza took an elbow to the face, ended up in concussion protocol, and Joe jumped off the bench onto the court and was screaming at him to get up.
Yeah.
And that's the second time now that Joe has screamed get up at somebody who's significantly injured. The first time Jason Tatum had a wrist injury and ended up missing a playoff game. It was the first playoff game he'd ever missed, so you can guess how much that hurt him. And then last night, Garza is concussed and struggling to get to his feet, and Joe does it again. I'm not someone who's gonna light up Joe for that. Obviously you don't know in the moment what's going on with the player, but probably
you try to reel it in a little bit.
If guys aren't getting up and getting back on defense, there's probably a reason, especially if they have Joe Mazzulla as their head coach and know how he will react if they don't get back on defense. And yeah, hopefully Garza's okay. Obviously, concussion's very scary, and on a basketball level, he's been waiting for this opportunity for a long time, his whole career, and for him to get concussed in the first game is sort of a bummer. So hopefully he'll be out of protocols soon. Hopefully he'll have no lasting effects of that, and Joe should probably stop.
Yeah, that's, again, you don't know in the moment, but even watching the replay there, it was clear that Garza got absolutely
whacked, directly in the face with an elbow.
Yeah, I think it was Bona on the Sixers. So yeah, so that was tough. So yeah, we'll see if Joe ramps it back a little bit there. But honestly, Jay, just not having Garza in the second half period, once Neiman gets fouled out, you literally have no. I guess it shows you just the big man situation. You have no size. You don't even have an option to go for real size at that point. We have Tillman and you have Boucher, and that's it. So
yeah.
that is, concussion stuff. Garza could miss weeks here, depending. Hopefully not, but if that happens, then all of a sudden it's not you're going to choose to play small or not. No, you're going to have to play small, and you're going to have to pray that guys stay out of foul trouble, because otherwise it's going to be a pretty daunting test for this group against a pretty impressive lineup of bigs coming up in the next week or two here.
Yeah, and while we're on the bigs, I just thought it mattered that they couldn't get one make from any of those guys. Garza shot 2 threes, Boucher shot 2 threes, Tillman shot 3 threes.
Yeah.
They were combined 0 for 7. And then on top of that, you get Peyton Pritchard 1 for 7, Derek White 4 for 13, Anthony Simons 2 for 6, Sam Hauser 2 for 6.
It's tough.
It used to be when Pritchard had a bad shooting game before, didn't matter because other guys were gonna pick him up. When Derek White had a bad shooting game before, a lot of the time it didn't matter. You had so many other options. You had Kristaps Porzingis who could shoot it. You had Al Horford, Jason Tatum, Drew Holiday. But now it's going to be a lot tougher for the Celtics to overcome those bad shooting nights, because they're not going to get those supplemental threes on a night-to-night basis from their big guys.
Certainly can't count on it.
It won't be 0 for 7 every night, but
maybe 2 for 7.
Yeah, but I don't expect it to be that much better on a consistent basis. And that was a little bit of a problem.
And if that continues, honestly, I think the next logical step here is a guy that almost saw the floor last night, is Ugo, because he, at least in the preseason, was making those threes a little bit more than those guys. And I don't know, even a night like last night, we know he was gonna come into the game. I think it was like there wasn't a stoppage for a while at the end of the third quarter, so Joe eventually just pulled him back when it was under 30 seconds left, and that was that for him. But I would have been like when a guy like Miles bringing energy, but I think he had piled up 4 fouls in 14 minutes. So like clearly the quickness of the Sixers guards was tough for him and like all the bigs. So I'm generally curious how, I mean, they'll get 2 more chances at the Sixers here in the next 3 weeks. So like what Gonzalez looks like when he gets switched on to one of those guys. Probably it's not going to go great based on how the rest of the lineup looked, but I'm just generally curious like how he would have fared against that level of NBA talent because he just really hasn't faced anything close to that in the preseason. And so I'm like, and we know defensively is that's where, his strength is going to be as a player right now.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how they divvy up the minutes moving forward because like Peyton Pritchard played 37, Derek White played 35, Jaylen Brown played 36. Those guys are all about where you'd expect.
Yeah.
Hauser 22. Kind of lower than I would have expected.
What do you think of his night?
Thought he was fine.
He had a tough defensive sequence, tough late game minutes. Was fine. Like he helping off Oubre for the corner 3. I think that I don't know. Like that was a tough one.
That was
for the go ahead from the strong side there. And then the moving screen stuff. But yeah, it's almost like they didn't like I don't know whether they can get him involved more offensively. Like I don't know how you do that against this type of team, but he obviously, he went 2 of 60, like he got his threes at least, but I thought like I was curious if they'd be able to find a way to get more volume to him offensively or just get him involved more there over the course of 48 minutes.
Yeah, gotta find him shots. Just got to, especially this season. Like I said, like you have 5 shooters.
Yeah,
that's
like,
it. That's it.
Like you want Sam Hauser taking shots over Tillman and Garza and company at this point. Like that's if the law of averages play out, those are the bets you want to be making.
Yeah. So the third quarter, they look great. The third quarter was like everything they want to be. I do feel like Joe's sideline demeanor was a little different. Maybe I'm reading too much into things because of how much he has preached. He wants to play a new style, but he seemed like more energetic than ever. He was going crazy on the sidelines, and I feel like he's just trying to ramp everything up. He wants them to really rely on their energy, to really channel chaos, to lean into all that stuff. And I thought he was trying to lead by example on the sideline, like truly going above and beyond, like I said, screaming at Garza when he was on the ground. But it was more than that. When after one of the timeouts, he was like out at midcourt, like going crazy, clapping. That was after they went on, I believe, a 10-0 run near the beginning of the third quarter. But they couldn't sustain the defense. And I do think part of it was just because of lineups. And they've got to figure out a way, like you said, to if you get up 9 with less than 4 minutes left, you have to close out that game.
Yeah.
You have to.
Against that lineup, like you can. And it goes back to, I mean, I watched those last few minutes just to the shots get, and a lot of them were perfectly defensible shots. But then there's also a couple where it's like they're closing out hard on D White in the corner, but if you pump fake it, then Nemi's got Edgecombe like literally under the basket. So it's like stuff like that kind of stuff that popped up in the Knicks series last year too, where it's like, not that they took too many threes in this game by any means, but it's like sometimes you just need an easy a reliable one. And especially with a team like this where the margin for error is razor thin, in a night where you're tough shooting threes anyway. But this one's with the schedule coming up, this one might sting a little bit when I look back on it, because it was right there for them. And I don't know, like with the Sixers, Jay, for you, like how the hell is this team going to approach this season now with Embiid looking like that?
Yeah, I don't envy their position, although they got super lucky to get Edgecombe. I don't think he'll shoot like he did against the Celtics all the time. Don't think he'll score 34 every night, but insane athlete. Insane athlete. Everything you hear about him is that he's mature beyond his years, approaches everything about being a pro the right way, is the type of guy you want in your organization. Maxey, you hear a lot of similar stuff. And I was wildly impressed by Edgecombe. Like he's like one of those like Russell Westbrook type athletes. Maybe not quite on Russell Westbrook's level because he's like an all-time athlete. But at the NBA level, there are a few guys that just like have a burst that they go by anybody. And he showed that. Some of his finishes at the rim were just like Celtics couldn't get there in time. He was faster, he jumped quicker, he was explosive. Just an incredible opening game from VJ Edgecombe. But other than that, yeah. Paul George, who knows what to expect. Embiid, like, yikes. There was one possession where he had Jaylen Brown in the post. Didn't try to go to the hoop, like just turned around, faded away. Didn't even work to try to get anything better. I was like, whoa. That's interesting. And not great. But he was a minus 16 in a game that the Sixers won. And the Celtics were going at him on defense too. When he's right physically, he's an awesome defender. Like a great defender. And they were going at him. He did not have a good impact on either side of the court. G Money wants to know if that's a sign of things to come. Are you changing your win total over under of 45-ish wins? I'm not gonna jump ship after one game. Not gonna jump ship after one game. When I said a sign of things to come, I just meant that the small group would score a lot and get scored on a lot. I think Joe will find a way to put more athletes on the court, more size on the court. I think they have to because their defense will suffer otherwise. And that's kind of one of the puzzles of this group is like you can throw a shooting group out there, you can throw a smaller group out there, you can throw the energy guys out there, but you don't have the two-way guys you used to have that can do everything.
Right. And
so you got to pick and choose, and there's always a downside of what you're choosing. And so Joe will have some serious decisions to make. Another question from G Money. Mm-hmm. Serious question. Is Joe's job on the line this season if this team doesn't make the playoffs? Or because of all the circumstances, there's no pressure on the season to be contenders.
I think they'll cut bait after the 6-year extension. I think this is
but seriously, no, I do not think his job is on the line. And I don't think it's about wins or losses either. I don't think Brad Stevens will judge Joe off wins or losses. Is the process right? Did he go about things the right way? Are they developing guys? Are they doing the right things? And I'm just curious to see how Joe approaches it when they do have losing skids. Because they've never really had losing skids during his time there. Like, what have they lost 3 games in a row?
Right, like
once or twice during his tenure? And they could lose their first 3 games of the season because they go to New York next and then Detroit. And then they're in New Orleans after that. On the second leg of a back-to-back.
Back home against the Cavs on Wednesday.
Then back home against the Cavs.
Yeah, right.
So it could get like not ugly right away, but it could get real right away. And I'm interested to see how it all shakes out when these guys deal with losing and when the initial excitement of a new style and bringing in new guys and trying to be the fastest team and whatever else, when that wears off a little bit because you're getting your ass kicked a little bit. And I'm not saying they necessarily will get their ass kicked. They could go into New York and get a win. They very easily could have beat the Sixers last night. Probably should have beat the Sixers last night. And I still think they're going to be pretty good.
And next, no Mitchell Robinson, no Josh Hart. It looks like injury report's not officially out, but it doesn't sound like those guys are going to be back in action quickly. So that at least gives you an opportunity there, since that's, the Knicks out of depth is not as impressive with those guys out of the fold right now.
Last thing to talk about, Terry Rozier.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is a wild day in NBA news with Terry Rozier getting arrested, Chauncey Billups getting arrested, all sorts of allegations of gambling and an illegal poker ring where they were cheating guys with the mafia's involved.
Rigged decks.
Yeah, this is a wild.
The Billups
Wild
stuff, and we've known about the Rozier accusations for a while, and that's kind of just been out there. The Billups stuff, this obviously seems to predate him coaching. Like, I don't know what, like, can he come back when this is still like pending? Probably not, right? Like, they're probably gonna have to like wait for this to play out, I would think, if they're putting him, kind of putting him on leave already here.
What a crazy scandal.
Just on day 2 of the NBA season, just
what is Demi Avdija thinking right now? What is Donovan Clinton thinking right now?
Drew Holiday, poor Drew.
Yeah, but just crazy day. Obviously, like, there's probably going to be some guys who get caught up in some dumb gambling shit just because it's out there. There's a lot of money on the line. Sometimes get caught up with the wrong guys, get greedy, whatever. But this stuff is serious stuff. Very serious stuff. Illegal poker ring. Did you read about the cheating stuff?
Yeah.
It sounded crazy. They were like spying on people's hole cards. They were, a lot of different ways to cheat.
Stay away from those mafia games. Stay away from those mafia games, I think.
Yeah, I'll stay at my local games.
Stick to the encore.
Hopefully they're not using high tech to cheat me.
But
crazy. But
tough day in Adam Silver's office as well.
Lot going on for Adam. Lot going on for the Celtics. They play the Knicks in a revenge game of sorts. Knicks have a new coach. Going to be hopefully a pretty good game. Should be a very good atmosphere in Madison Square Garden. I'm looking forward to it. I will be there in person, and I'll be in Detroit in person, and then I will not be in New Orleans. Thankfully, I'll be headed back home. So we'll be here after all these games, after every Monday through Friday, to chat with you. We love you guys. Thank you to the kids, the gods, the legends. We'll talk to you soon.
Still bottle, still bottle, the Boston still bottle, still bottle. Oh yeah. Go down from eating and drinking and all that wild stuff.